I'm reading a selection from John Ronald Reuel Tolkien's The Fellowship of the Ring, and the collection of books known as The Lord of the Ring is banned in some locations in the United States for two main reasons. In a lot of the Northeast, especially in medical facilities, it's banned because there are a lot of references to smoking, which hobbits are overly fond of. And evidently, it is in the best desires of medical people to make sure children don't read about smoking, because this will cause them to smoke. And then in the southern parts of the United States, the Lord of the Rings, are banned from a lot of Christian schools because they're viewed as irreligious, or even there were a couple of places in Texas that said it was satanic. So I will now read the section where Bilbo has disappeared from his own birthday party and departs for Rivendell. As for Bilbo Baggins, even while he was making his speech, he had been fingering the golden ring in his pocket, his magic ring that he had ever kept secret for so many years. As he stepped down, he slipped it on his finger, and he was never seen by any hobbit in Hobbiton again. He walked briskly back to his hole, and stood for a moment listening with a smile to the din in the pavilion and to the sounds of merrymaking in other parts of the field. Then he went in. He took off his party clothes, folded up and wrapped in tissue paper his embroidered silk waistcoat, and put it away. Then he put on some old untidy garments, and fastened round his waist a worn leather belt. On it he hung a short sword in a battered black leather scabbard. From a locked drawer, smelling of mothballs, he took out an old cloak and hood. They had been locked up as if they were very precious, but they were so patched and weather-stained that their original color could hardly be guessed. It might have been a dark green. They were rather too large for him, and he then went into his study, and from a large strong-box took out a bundle wrapped in old cloths, and a leather-bound manuscript, and also a bag that was standing there, already nearly full. Into the envelope he slipped his golden ring and its fine chain, and then sealed it, and addressed it to Frodo. At first he put it on the mantelpiece, but suddenly removed it, and stuck it in his pocket. At that moment the door opened, and Gandalf came quickly in. "Hello," said Bilbo. "I was wondering if you would turn up." "I'm glad to find you visible," replied the wizard, sitting down in a chair. "I wanted to catch you and have a few final words. I suppose you feel that everything has gone off splendidly and according to plan?" "Yes, I do," said Bilbo, "though that flash was surprising. It quite startled me, let alone the others. Little addition of your own, I suppose?" "It was. You have wisely kept that ring secret all these years, and it seemed to me necessary to give your guests something else that would seem to explain your sudden vanishment." "And would spoil my joke. You are an interfering old busybody," laughed Bilbo, "and I expect you know best, as usual." "I do, when I know anything. But I don't feel too sure about this whole affair. It has now come to the final point. You have had your joke, and alarmed or offended most of your relations, and given the whole Shire something to talk about for 9 days, or 99, more likely. Are you going any further?" "Yes, I am. I feel I need a holiday. A very long holiday, as I have told you before. Probably a permanent holiday, and I don't expect I shall return. In fact, I don't mean to, and I have made all the arrangements. I am old, Gandalf. I don't look it, but I am beginning to feel it in my heart of hearts. Well preserved indeed," he snorted. "Why, I feel all thin, sort of stretched, if you know what I mean. Like butter that has been scraped over too much bread. That can't be right. I need a change, or something." Gandalf looked curiously and closely at him. "No, it does not seem right," he said thoughtfully. "No, after all, I believe your plan is probably the best." "Well, I've made up my mind anyway. I want to see mountains again, Gandalf. Mountains, and then find somewhere where I can rest. In peace and quiet, without the lot of relatives prying around, and a string of confounded visitors hanging on the bell. I might find somewhere where I can finish my book, and I've thought of a nice ending for it. and he lived happily ever after to the end of his days. Gandalf laughed. I hope he will, but nobody will read the book, however it ends. Oh, they may, in years to come. Frodo has read some already, as far as it has gone. You will keep an eye on Frodo, won't you? Yes, I will. 2 eyes, as often as I can spare them. He would come with me, of course, if I asked him. In fact, he offered to once, just before the party. But he does not really want to, yet. I want to see the wild country again before I die, and the mountains. But he is still in love with the Shire, with the woods and fields and little rivers. He ought to be comfortable here. I am leaving everything to him, of course, except a few oddments. I hope he will be happy now, when he gets used to being on his own. It's time he was his own master now. Everything? Said Gandalf. The ring as well? You agreed to that, you remember. Well, yes, I suppose to, stammered Bilbo. Where is it? In an envelope, if you must know, said Bilbo impatiently. There, on the mantelpiece. Well, no. Here it is, in my pocket. He hesitated. Isn't that odd now? He said softly to himself.